Welcome to the Solid Verbal. And now, Dan and Ty.
Dan Rubenstein, week 7 is just about in the books as we come on the airwaves this evening. Wouldn't you have guessed? Over half of the AP Top 25 was in serious peril or actually lost. We had losses by at least 9 Top 25 teams. We had close calls for a handful of others. It was a very active week in the world of college football as we have now turned the page into October, as teams have started to play more of their conference opponents. We have begun to learn a little bit more about what we've got in store for us the rest of the way in college football. I am so thrilled to be here with you, with all the Verballerhood this evening, as we try to make heads or tails of what the hell happened in week 7, my friend. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm good. I think you covered it. I don't know if there's anything that I need to add. I think it was a great overview, 10,000 foot view. I think people can come to their own conclusions about how they feel about the week. And you took the words out of my mouth, Ty. I don't have anything left.
Let's just blame the refs for everything. Call it an early night. Get to bed early. No, listen, you and I had a call around 8 o'clock Eastern time, and the tone of that call was, yo, what the hell are we supposed to do with all of this?
Yeah, it's true.
Because there is a lot. There is a lot that we need to unpack from week 7. So we've got a list here of our top games, our top storylines. We're going to try and talk through it as best we can. To cover everything, we would need a 5-hour show.
Yes.
Which we do not have the juice to do at midnight Eastern time. So whatever we don't get to now, we will get to it on Tuesday. But we wanted to make sure we spent enough time unpacking some of the biggest stories from week 7, which, of course, there were many. Of course, as we go through this episode, we will play the Reverbs. I instructed our chief reverb engineer, Shay, to make sure he included the messages from the Indiana fans who had a bone to pick with you.
That's fine.
Hey, fair is fair, right? What's
totally
fair is
agree.
Fair. Let's take the medicine. So we got a bunch of those. I'm excited to play them for everybody here. If you are watching live, we'll take a few of those YouTube comments and questions a little bit later on in the show before we get to your Dude Alerts, Dan Rubenstein. But
yeah, get those comments in. Come on. Don't just be a bystander. Weigh in. Be somewhat respectful. I mean, it's college football. I'm not going to expect a ton from people who love this sport. I don't expect it from myself. I don't expect it from Ty. But, slap those keys on your keyboard. Let's go.
Let's hear what you got, man. Throw it at us. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. We appreciate everybody being here.
We're accountable, right? What time is it? It's 12:03 a.m. Eastern time. We kept our appointment. I'm here. Ty's alma mater is just up in flames. My team just lost after my head coach took his shirt off at 5 a.m. local time or something. We're here. We're ready.
We're here. We can take it.
Yeah.
Throw it at us. Leave a comment. All that good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. We're happy to have you here. If you are watching on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast, hit follow. Of course, ratings, reviews, all that stuff really goes a long way towards helping. I hate to do this to you. We need to start with the Indiana-Oregon game.
Oh, I don't even think people care about it at this point. It happened hours upon hours ago, Ty. I feel like we'd be wasting people's time when they want to move on, Ty. They want to hear our takes about UCLA hammering Michigan State.
Everybody's here for the UCLA takes. UCLA, by the way, might not be that bad of a team, at least not the rest of the way.
That happened before the Oregon game, by the way. So my timing excuse is off. Continue.
30-20.
Yes.
30-20. Indiana goes on the road to Autzen Stadium. They pick up the dub. If only Oregon's defense could have been as physical throughout the course of that game as they were when Fernando Mendoza was in victory formation. What was that?
Oh, I don't know. I had turned it off by then. Were they getting up in his face or something?
Oh, they were doing a little roughhouse in there. It was the most physical they looked all game. I was surprised by that.
Defense wasn't terrible. So, okay, here's where we should start. Indiana was better. Indiana in the present tense is better, and I have no reason to think that they won't be for the rest of the season. They were better prepared for that game. Fernando Mendoza was, even though they weren't, I mean, nobody was really succeeding downfield all that often. He made clutch throws. He had clutch runs. I thought Indiana, by and large, just came in ready to win in a way that Oregon was not. And you can't really claim hangover because both of these teams had a bye week before this pretty major game. This wasn't a game Oregon was taking lightly because it was a top 10 matchup at home with game day in the house. So really, it just came down to Oregon's offense looking extremely flat, in no small part because Indiana's defense, whatever the opposite of flat is, they were extremely violently stacked. I don't know what you wanted me to say about Indiana's defense. I made an offhanded comment in the preview that I didn't think many, if any, Indiana players would start for Oregon. Hey, so quick revision on that. After watching Oregon's offensive line and Oregon's pass rush not really get home all that often, and especially the uneven play, we'll call it, of Oregon's linebackers. Yeah, I think Aiden Fisher might start for Oregon.
Control Z. Yeah, let's undo that. Let's take a step back. Yeah, look, we both sort of dismissed Indiana.
Sure.
In this game. We both were very wrong.
Yeah.
And all due credit to Curt Cignetti in Indiana. I listened to Fernando Mendoza in the post game. I think he summed it up best. Sure. Every time Indiana needed something, somebody stepped up and gave it to him. Offense, defense, special teams, you name it.
Yeah.
They came in there. They were ready to play. And from afar, and again, I'm sure you watched this much closer than I did, being so it's your alma mater, your team. But I felt like every time I dropped into this one, Indiana was the aggressor. Indiana was on the front foot.
Sure.
More often than not, I definitely got the sense that Oregon was sort of reeling. Oregon was trying to play catch up, even if they weren't totally out of it or anything crazy. It wasn't like a blowout, but it just felt like they were constantly playing catch up and they were just a step behind Indiana.
Yeah, and here's the thing, too. Oregon had stretches where they were running the ball really, really well and had Indiana on their heels. Or even when it seemed like, Indiana was taking control of the game, I think they go up 20-13 and have the ball. And I think to myself, Indiana's in control here. Oregon, and especially Dante Moore in the passing game. Like, Dante Moore got hit a couple times, and it seems like his eyes sort of stayed down. Like, he took a snap for a passing play and was sort of the mindset, where are they coming from? Where do I go? Instead of, where are my receivers? Who's open? What is this defense giving me? And you could tell that he was not at all comfortable for most of this game. And to Oregon's credit, they then took an interception to the house. Brandon Finney did. And Oregon put themselves in position when I think the score was at 20 all in the fourth quarter. They're like, oh, Oregon can maybe sort of kind of find a way to win this extremely losable game. And yet, Indiana was very resilient. I saw Curt Cignetti had a quote about Fernando Mendoza being a rubber ball rather than a chandelier after the game, right?
That's great.
And so you just bounce back up after and you don't shatter into a million pieces. And Mendoza absolutely did that. He made plays. I came away crazy impressed with Indiana's ability on the road in a hostile place. I think Oregon had won their last 40 or whatever, was on a like 41-1 in their last 42 at home, some crazy stat. And good for Indiana. This is as high a time for Indiana fans as it gets. And, far be it for me to say anything. Like, Indiana fans have emerged like the cicadas who only get the opportunity. That probably sounded mean. Maybe I meant it. I don't know. But emerging like the subterranean bugs that they are once every 17 years. No, Indiana fans, live it up. Your team has earned this. They, if they don't go undefeated, I would be flabbergasted when you look at their schedule.
I was going to say, they're 6-0 right now. The remaining schedule is Michigan State at home, UCLA at home,
winnable.
At Maryland, winnable. At Penn State, very winnable at this point.
So. Yep.
We'll get to that later. Wisconsin at home, and then they close out the season, that rivalry game on the road at Purdue. It is time to talk to your kids about a 12-0 Indiana for those of you playing the home game. And it's not so much by virtue of the schedule as I think the argument was a year ago with Indiana. We talked in the build up to this season. This is a harder schedule than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
And to go to Autzen Stadium to hold Oregon to 267 yards, that's damn impressive. So all the flowers go to the Hoosiers, to say the least. One final question, though, on Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon, obviously a very good team. Okay.
I hope so.
Probably going to win the rest of their games.
Watching where Penn State is mentally doesn't have me super convinced.
Well, that's my question. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I did bring this up on the preview.
Yeah.
To what end are we overvaluing, or have we been
Right.
overvaluing Oregon as a result of that Penn State win? Now, look, even if Penn State is a crappy team, as it appears they are, going to Penn State, Beaver Stadium, whiteout environment, that's a tough place to win, even if it's a bad team.
Agree.
It just is. So what Oregon did there, that should not be taken away from them. That should not be any less impressive. But
Right.
we know a little bit more about Penn State right now, don't we?
We do.
Does that give you cause for pause, our favorite pet charity?
I mean, more so than before, though I think each week is different and we're dealing with a pretty small sample size. So, now Penn State, we're supposed to evaluate Oregon's win with Penn State moving forward without their starting quarterback and without their best linebacker. Like, it's a different vibe of a Penn State team. So I still think it's impressive, in a vacuum, what Oregon did. What's going to be impressive or not so impressive is to see, because once again, Indiana's schedule is, there's no, I don't think there's any threat of a letdown, back half of the schedule for the Hoosiers. What does Oregon look like even this week traveling to Rutgers? What does Oregon look like against a USC team that should have a lot more wins by the time they play that game?
Yeah, USC look good.
That Washington game is in Seattle. What does Oregon look like on the road against a pretty uneven Husky team? But that's a tough place to play for, a number of teams. Oregon struggled there recently. Ohio State only had half of the stadium filled when they played a couple weeks ago and could have been more. So we'll see. What does Oregon look like bouncing back? Where are they mentally? I think that's going to go a long way to, I don't think you can evaluate them based solely on that Penn State game. But, Oregon's got an interesting road ahead.
Moving on to Alabama, Mizzou.
Yeah.
This game was earlier in the day. I really enjoyed the hell out of this game. I enjoyed watching this game. I thought it was a relatively even match. I thought the difference was Ty Simpson, who did not have his best statistical game.
Right.
But again, was just a steadying force back there. Did have a fumble early in the second half, which opened the door for Missouri to get back into this one. But other than that,
there were a couple of miscues. There was the trip and knee down before handing it off on the goal line. There was some sloppiness from Ty Simpson. Continue, because I don't think that defines his day. Continue.
It doesn't. I think his day is defined by the fact that, again, the offense runs through Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
Again, in general, though there were a couple miscues, pretty reliable, comes through when he has to. They are clearly growing more confident in his abilities back there. We have seen that progressively so.
Yeah.
Every week since that week 1 loss against Florida State.
Yes.
So, though I think Mizzou is super talented, and though I thought their defensive front was actually quite good in this game, I was really impressed by the manner in which Alabama won this game, because this was very losable. Mizzou was there. They had an opportunity to win this game. They just couldn't quite get the finished product. They're not quite there yet, but Alabama to go on the road, hostile environment, to win this game. They kept talking about it on the broadcast about how loud it was in Como.
Mm-hmm.
I came
about
away
an end zone section, right? They're under construction. We got, by the way, 4K excavators back there in the background. I love seeing it. I love that.
I just thought this was a really impressive road win for Alabama in what was very clearly a losable game.
Yes. A few takeaways here was Mizzou almost won that game with a quarterback who wasn't really throwing the ball with any sort of consistency in Bo Prabula. But I guess when you invest in Penn State, right, you take the good with the bad.
Hey, and Kevin Coleman was hobbled. He left the game in the second quarter.
Yep.
There is a broader question about Mizzou moving forward. If I haven't seen his injury status, so if it's already been settled, you guys can correct me in the chat. But if he is hobbled for any extended period of time, or even a limited amount of time, given what Mizzou's got on the schedule, it's not the hardest of SEC schedules, but it still is an SEC schedule. We still see teams losing week in and week out.
Yep.
It does raise real questions if suddenly they don't have their main threat out there. They're already sort of limited as a passing entity, and especially the defenses that I think they have left on the schedule are probably good enough to try and shut down that run in the way that Alabama did.
Yes.
So if they turn Mizzou into more of a passing team, that's the open question I have about the Tigers moving forward.
Here's the good news for Mizzou. If you have a swarming defensive line and a rushing attack that at its best is one of the best in the nation, led by Ahmad Hardy, then you can still win a bunch, especially against this schedule.
Sure.
I love watching him. He's not built the exact same way. Their games aren't identical, but just in terms of vibes, a little bit of, was it Muscle Hamster, Doug Martin? A little bit of that.
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit of like, speed is a little bit more than you'd think, given how solidly built Ahmad Hardy is and his ability to just muscle through arm tackles. He's so impressive to watch, especially against a defense like Bama's. Another difference is Mizzou didn't have Caden Proctor wearing their uniform. And when you have that short yardage leaping into the air, talent.
Dude got some air. They used him down towards the goal line.
They did.
Put him in the backfield.
Short yardage conversion. Yeah.
They put him in the backfield, got the conversion, and got a little bit of air, man. These guys are so freakishly athletic. It should surprise nobody, especially offensive linemen. They're not just built like refrigerators. They can move, especially in, this modern era where pass protection is so important.
Right.
But, you got a guy like that. 360, is that what they said? Put him in the backfield, just
something like that. Yeah.
Pull him over. That was crazy.
And then just on the Ty Simpson, just the 4th and 8 throw up the sideline was enormous. Obviously, his ability to spread the ball around to various receivers. There wasn't any one guy who went off. Obviously, it was not a Ryan Williams go off for 163 yards type performance. Jam Miller was really good on the ground as Alabama continues to evolve there. And so Alabama won a losable game. There were moments that could have, balls bouncing either direction. There was a Ty Simpson throw that basically nailed a Mizzou defensive lineman square in the neck.
Right,
and it was just fortunate. The guy didn't hold on to the ball and it bounced off him. I think it was maybe the Alabama center who ended up catching it for, a yard or two gain. Like, there were just those moments that Alabama, it's not that it was a luck thing because it was just a crazy game going in both directions. But Alabama, especially, obviously final play of the game for Alabama picking off the Bo Prabula pass, was resilient enough to win a losable game. So impressed by Alabama in this spot. This sort of felt like a game they would have lost last year. And now Kalen DeBoer is, 45-0 wearing a black hoodie. Wasn't it
12-2? It's 12-2. So what you're referencing is an actual graphic that they flashed up on the screen when they were talking to him in the post game.
Yeah.
A graphic at the bottom that said that Kalen DeBoer is now 12-2 while wearing a black hoodie. I can't honestly remember another situation in all of our years of doing this and all of my years as a fan watching college football where the research department was fully untethered and they allowed that graphic to appear, a silly graphic that is definitely more our brand than ESPN's.
I loved it.
All about it. We will definitely be talking more about this black hoodie situation at some point in the near future. But alas, like you said, 27-24.
I will say, though, by the way, Ty, I never feel good about seeing those types, like thinking about the relationship between apparel and winning after Gary Patterson changed his shirt at halftime during the Alamo Bowl. Like, I still hear like the black choppers, right?
Yeah.
Anytime somebody starts talking about coach and apparel and how it's affecting the on-field performance. So anyway, here we are.
You might have to alter your game day apparel after what happened.
100% need to, yes.
To the Oregon Ducks.
Full nude.
All right. Red River rock fight, as I called it.
Yeah.
It wasn't not a rock fight for a good chunk of this game. The final was 23-6. It's a little deceiving because this was very much a defensive battle. This game featured only one offensive touchdown. It was a nice pass from Arch to DeAndre Moore in the back of the end zone, I believe in the third quarter.
Yes.
My takeaway from this game was that it was nice that the main story wasn't about Arch Manning.
Agree.
Like, no offense to Arch and no offense to the Texas offense. I am so sick of the Arch Manning storyline at this point. And I have to imagine a lot of people listening to this, watching this, feel the same.
I imagine Arch Manning is sick of the Arch
Manning is sick of it.
Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian is probably sick of it. Even if you don't give a rip about Texas,
you
are probably sick of Arch Manning and the Warby Parker commercials and the articles being written. And it's just, we all understand why.
Yeah.
We're all college football fans at heart. It was nice to see a game in which this was a Texas win that had to do with defense and special teams. 3 picks of John Mateer, a punt return from Ryan Niblett. It was certainly not a shining offensive effort for Texas, but
no,
they were good on third downs. They didn't make any back-breaking mistakes.
They ran the ball.
They ran the ball. I mean, some of those numbers I think were offset a little bit by the fact that they had a couple long runs in there, but still they ran the ball. They did run the ball. Arch had some nice moments, but he wasn't having a headliner kind of game, not by any stretch of the imagination. It was just a really solid team effort on the Texas side in a really big rivalry spot. John Mateer did play in this game, which maybe we can discuss a little bit and how he looked or how we thought he didn't look.
Yeah.
But 23-6 for Texas is a really, really big win for them.
Really nice win for Texas. Obviously, for the Texas defense that had, sort of new questions, especially last week after their performance or lack thereof in Gainesville. Yeah, I think it was Ryan Niblett who had the punt return touchdown, like 70, 80-yard punt return. Obviously, you want that insurance. Texas seemed to, as the game wore on, feel extremely confident that they could handle a very interceptable John Mateer, who didn't seem like he had the hand, I guess, in this case, to throw it down the field confidently and with a good amount of zip beyond, 15, 20 yards. Not that that was, Oklahoma's a big part of Oklahoma's offense anyway, but he was throwing a very interceptable ball.
I was wondering for a portion of this game if they cut the thumb off.
Yeah, he was sort of all over the place. The offensive line was all over the place. The offense in general was all over the place. And I actually was quite impressed with how there was a good amount of confidence to John Mateer, as there always is when you watch him coming out of the gate, though. They score points early, and he looks like he is in command, and he's excited to be out there. But the more this game wore on, the more he just was not, able to have command over this offense and find a rhythm against this Texas defense, which was flying around. To their credit, they step into this game after a disappointing performance against Florida with their hair on fire. And so as for Arch, I think Texas fans probably exhaled a little bit. I wouldn't say that the populace of Longhorn fans is saying, okay, he is now what we expected and hoped he'd be. But like the throw up, I think it was up a sideline to Parker Livingston. Like you could see stacking different positive things in a way that wasn't always there, that you hope can be built upon for the rest of the year for Texas. Obviously, this was a week filled with like Sark is now 2-93 against top 10 teams, right? He's getting the James Franklin treatment. And so getting that win against a top 10 Oklahoma team, whatever Oklahoma's ranked by the end of the year, notwithstanding, like it was a good exhale game for Texas here, and that it's in a rivalry spot, that you get a giant gold cowboy hat after the fact.
Love that.
It's all gravy. It's all
I
icing.
love that.
Texas needed this one.
They really did. And Sark spoke to that coming into this game, how, in so many words, or maybe I'm paraphrasing, but basically implied this is a necessity to win this game.
Of course.
And they did so in really impressive fashion. Just one final point on the Arch thing. He came in as the Heisman frontrunner. He's not going to win the Heisman Trophy. It has definitely been a rocky start, but he is a first-time, full-time starting quarterback in arguably the toughest league, with a tough schedule, especially a tough road schedule. So it shouldn't be a surprise if it were anybody else. If he were struggling, I don't think it would be a big surprise to find a first-year full-time starter in these situations. It just so happens he's got that name. Yeah, that's a lot to bear. Okay, that's a lot to carry. But if they can, in the interim, turn him into an effective game manager until his confidence comes up, until he kind of grows into this role a little bit more, until they can kind of really turn him loose. Obviously, the raw materials are there. He's a Manning. But if they can lean a little bit more on this defense, if they can get this ground game going, if they can take some of the pressure off of him where he doesn't feel like the weight of the world is on his shoulders, they will be better for it.
Agree.
And I think we saw a lot of that here. Again, not necessarily an offensive effort that's going to light the world on fire, but a really good team effort. A really good team effort to get the win in rivalry. You'll take the win however you can, the Red River game. So I give them a lot of credit.
And just to close the loop, Ty, they've got some winnable games. They've got some challenging games coming up. It's at Kentucky, at Mississippi State, Vandy, Georgia on the road, Arkansas, and of course the rivalry. I think it's Thanksgiving weekend against A&M, wherever A&M is then. But right now they're top 5 team and growing.
Ohio State 34, Illinois 16. This was another matchup between two ranked teams in week 7. I thought outside of USC, for me personally, Ohio State looked the most impressive.
You thought USC had the second most impressive performance of the day behind Ohio State?
I do.
I think Indiana was more impressive, but perhaps I am biased.
Indiana. Okay, sure. Indiana. I think that
Continue.
kind of goes without saying, right?
Okay.
We started with that, but yes, outside of Indiana, outside of Ohio State, USC would probably be third on that list, technically speaking. But Ohio State just sort of sat on Illinois. They sat on them. They were aided by 3 turnovers. They got 2 fumbles. They got 1 pick. I thought all things considered, the Illinois defense acquitted itself pretty well against a good offense, but they fell in a 20-point hole in the first half. And you're just not going to come back from that against Ohio State, especially when the Ohio State defense is so tuned up right now. So Ohio State to go and put in a performance like this, again, steady Eddie, not necessarily the biggest offensive showing, but really good on defense, forcing turnovers, again, asserting its will. They got up big. This one was never really in doubt. This was like, in the words of Cosmo Kramer, a 2-lane or a 1-lane comfort cruise.
Right. Ohio State took care of business. It was not their most efficient game. It was not their most explosive game. Obviously, Julian Sayin has had a ton of success going down the field recently as the Ohio State offense has opened up. It seems very clear that Bo Jackson's their best running back, and they're sort of doing a committee thing. And I don't know, maybe they're saving his legs to be fresh closer to the end of the season. But for whatever reason, they just sort of take the momentum away from themselves sometimes on offense with their rushing attack. I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to figure things out earlier on in the season. But yeah, I mean, that defense is just ridiculous. The turnovers that they forced, the ways that they can win various plays and series is just, absurd. I thought Illinois did a nice job. They were moving the ball in this game, which not a ton of teams have done, if anybody has done consistently. So they were able to move the ball some. I think it was it Luke Altmaier's first interception of the season? Or
I believe so.
Completely make that up. That was early on in the game. They had a couple nifty plays in the red zone at the goal line to get into the end zone. But yeah, Illinois doesn't have the star power needed to score what's needed to compete for 4 quarters with Ohio State. But program was never built to do that under Brett Bielema. And it was an okay showing. Ohio State moves on, and I don't think anybody on their schedule right now is obviously built to compete.
Let's stay in the Big Ten for a second.
Okay. As you are. Okay, so if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're merely listening to the podcast, Ty's hands are on his face. He looks exhausted by something specific. And I think this is when we get into Wisconsin? Maryland. Rutgers and Washington.
Keep trying. Keep going.
Help me out here. Purdue, Minnesota.
Northwestern 22, Penn State 21.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll be happy to know I didn't watch much of this game.
I
read about it.
The whole thing, man.
Up through it, but
I watched the whole thing. Shout out to Northwestern. All right. Shout out to Northwestern.
Yeah.
They got to 4-2. They beat Penn State on the road, which again, go back to the beginning of this episode. We talked about it. That's a big deal. It's a bigger deal for this team. It's a huge win for them. They win against Purdue next week. They can get to 5-2. If they can steal one the rest of the way, they're going bowling. I don't think it's a certainty that they can get to 6, but you go on the road, you beat Penn State in Beaver Stadium, even if it's a bad Penn State team. That's proof of concept. You can beat some other teams in the Big Ten, even if it doesn't appear so right now.
Yeah.
So kudos to them. This was a nice win. I give them all the credit.
I immediately got an email, by the way, from the Northwestern Athletic Department after they won this game because I'm on some sort of ticket list because I purchased Northwestern tickets.
Okay.
And they're like, great time to buy some merch. Just beat Penn State.
Yeah, Fanatics was running a 40% off sale on Penn State merch that I got an email about right after the loss.
I assume that's true.
It's 100% true.
We've got purple shirts, we got black shirts, we got white shirts, we got gray shirts. Everything's looking sharp after this Penn State win. Continue.
Northwestern winning is not the story.
Okay.
Per our friend Brett McMurphy over at On3, James Franklin is the first coach in the last 30 years to lose consecutive games as at least 20-point favorites. To make matters worse, Drew Allar got injured late in the game. Apparently, he is also done for the season.
Yeah.
This has gone from bad to worse in a millisecond, Dan. You may recall me saying after last week's loss that I did not see a way that James Franklin could come back from this.
Yeah.
I didn't see it. Let me double down on that now. You lose to Northwestern. To quote the wise prophet, Detective William Somerset, Dan.
Okay.
If Penn State's head splits open and a UFO should fly out, I want you to have expected it.
Yeah.
I have no idea what happens now. I have zero clue what tomorrow is going to bring, what the next couple weeks are going to bring for this program. UCLA, to their credit, could end up being half decent the rest of the way, maybe a better loss than we thought. Northwestern could end up making a bowl.
Yep.
They might not end up being as horrible, either of those teams, when we get to December and when we look back. We will know a lot more by December, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but you consider the talent on Penn State. You consider the expectations that they had coming into the season off of a semifinal berth in the college football playoff. There are no more excuses.
A lot of guys who recently got to watch Tyler Warren. Yeah, there's all sorts of things.
There are
Penn State.
No excuses at this point. And, you know, the losses are maddening. I've been watching these games as closely as I can amid watching 40 other games every Saturday.
Yeah.
But what I think is what bothers me the most, outside of that fourth quarter against Oregon when they made that comeback and got it to overtime, this team has not had any juice whatsoever. And as a fan, that is bothersome. You know, you want some fire. They don't got to be, you know, crazy out there, but you want some fire. You want some intensity. You want some sign that they care. And outside of DDS, who celebrates every tackle like he's winning the Super Bowl,
good,
which is a little bit much and over the top, but outside of him, he's like the only one. He's the only one. There is just no fire with this team right now. They have been sleepwalking through the season. It's probably a big part of why they are where they are right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happens next, because these are the types of situations where things can come off the rails in a friggin' hurry, especially now with a guy like Allar out. Maybe they'll be better at quarterback. I mean, it wasn't a good season for Allar to begin with, but
I don't know about that, but okay.
I don't know either. Okay. This is just me throwing stuff against the wall, but there's that whole situation about, are you going to lose the locker room? And then there's this whole other conversation about James Franklin.
Yeah.
I stand by what I said. I don't know how he comes back from this. It does not seem like a tenable situation to me. He's got a hefty buyout, $56 million. I don't know if they can negotiate that down. My hunch is that everybody wants to part ways and like be honky-dory and kind of go about their own thing.
Okay.
And James Franklin can coach somewhere else, and Penn State can find another coach. My hunch is
James Franklin can take that money, buy a fedora, order the largest prawns that Turks and Caicos has to offer, and live a real nice life. Continue.
There is just no way that Pat Kraft, the AD at Penn State, can stand at a podium in front of a fan base that is hungry for more than what they have this season.
Yeah.
And thought they were going to get a lot more, and say that, hey, we think James Franklin is still the guy that can fix this. You just can't say that with a straight face.
I agree.
And so I don't know how they do it. I don't know if they pass the hat around to the Pagulas or whoever to get enough money to figure out a way out of this thing. It's unfortunate because I've grown to like James Franklin. I feel horrible for him. I feel horrible for Drew Allar, who clearly was upset, as you might expect, getting carted off the field.
Right.
But this is a results-oriented business, love it or hate it.
Mm-hmm.
And the results are not there.
Do you think there's maybe like a member of the Saudi royal family that grew up like super into Anthony Fasano, right? He's just
Anthony
like, I want what's best for
Anthony
Penn State.
Fasano, former Notre Dame tight end?
Oh, geez. Give me a former Penn State tight end quick, like 2014. Oh, who's my guy? Pat Fryermuth?
Pat Fryermuth. There you go.
Thank you. God,
Yeah.
Anthony Fasano.
Hans Gasecki, right?
Hans Gasecki. Thank you.
One of
very
those
much.
guys.
Okay. Here's the
maybe,
continue.
I don't know.
Here's the other thing that I'm not saying is true. I'm not saying is even maybe true, but I'm saying here is a risk. Okay. This is a terrible year for James Franklin and Penn State. Period. End of that specific thought. Given the expectation, given what they returned, especially on defense, at quarterback, at running back, along the offensive line, given those results, given the teams that they've lost to outside of Oregon and UCLA and now most recently Northwestern, terrible year. But at a place like Penn State, and there are a number of places like this, where they've won a lot of games, go to Rose Bowls, New Year's Six type bowl games. Obviously, it's now easier to make the big playoff with more entries in. They make the semifinal and playing games this year in the college football, Final Four. There is a non-zero risk of Penn State getting Pelini'd, right? Yeah. That you have a coach who's definitely good, and it just has gone on long enough, and you're like, well, everybody wins at Nebraska. We'll just find the next guy, right? Everybody wins at Penn State. That's the risk. I'm not saying keep James Franklin because things seem bad right now, but he's earned a certain amount of like, okay, if it's not James Franklin, who can we get?
Listen,
can we find the money?
Listen,
how much we pay the next guy? Yeah.
His track record as a program builder, his track record of building Penn State up to this point where the expectation is now playoff or bust. I mean, that is his and his alone.
Yeah.
He deserves immense credit for what he has built Penn State into.
Yeah.
And I am not harboring any resentment towards James Franklin for what he has done for this program. I think he has done a fantastic job. We have now reached the point, the standard is a little bit higher. It's a standard that he set. He's admitted, as has everybody involved with this program, whether it's a player, a coach, administrator, you name it, they are not meeting that standard. And it does run the risk now of really falling apart. We have seen some recruits start to decommit.
Yeah.
Players now getting hurt.
What is the actual standard, though? Always going 10-2 and losing to Ohio State, Michigan?
Well, they're trying to get past that. I mean, I think that's the bar that they're setting.
That's the modern standard of Penn State football in the last 15 years. Yeah,
it is. And they have not been able to clear that with any consistency. I just think they have to move on at this point.
Okay.
And I don't know when it happens. I don't know how it happens, but I think it has to happen. And it wouldn't surprise me truly if it happened tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened a week from tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened at the end of the year. I honestly have no idea. I can also tell you, I have never gotten more DMs on Twitter in my life.
Really? Okay.
I have been inundated with people who are
even in like your pre-Kate days. The DMs weren't
believe
just
it or not.
all the
believe
time?
it or not, yeah.
Oh, man.
I have never been more inundated with people who have something to say or claim to have a source or you name it.
Sure.
So there's a lot going on in Penn State. I would say watch this space because it's going to remain active for the remainder of the season.
Okay.
That's the end of my rant.
Is Bob Chesney's wife looking for real estate? No, not yet? Okay.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
I don't know. You can get good real estate in Center County.
Next team, next game.
Let's stay in the great state of PA, Dan.
Oh, my God. We got SEC teams to talk about. ACC, Big 12. You don't want to talk, I don't know, Texas Tech, Kansas? You don't want to talk Texas A&M, Florida? Okay, let's stay in Pennsylvania. Oh, are you going Pitt, Florida State?
34-31, Pitt Panthers, Dan.
Ooh. So I guess Pennsylvania's signature college football program at the moment.
State champions of PA, maybe?
I mean, Lehigh is there.
Lehigh's there. Lehigh had a resounding win.
Yeah, okay.
H2P. But Lafayette put up 62 points this week. I don't know if you saw that.
No big deal.
There's a real question about who the state champ of PA is right now. But Pitt Panthers, man. Pitt wins 34-31 over FSU. The game ended on a bizarre offside penalty. I don't know if you watched this one at all.
I did.
But it was a crucial third down. Florida State had a chance to stop Pitt. And Darrell Jackson Jr., the nose tackle for Florida State, just put his hands up and sort of pushed Pitt's center, which wasn't offside. It was 3rd and 3. The penalty gave them a first down, and then that was it. That was it. That was the game. Pitt's been starting now a freshman quarterback, Mason Heinschel. This was the second game. He threw for 321 and 2 touchdowns, both of which went to Des Reed. Des Reed did not do a whole lot on the ground, but had 8 catches for 155 and 2 touchdowns through the air.
Yes,
So
correct.
it was definitely
One was a long run after catch.
That's right.
Up the middle. But yes, continue.
But just a fun game, like a back and forth game, a bunch of lead changes. The sentiment among Florida State fans was genuine disdain for the defense, which gave up nearly 500 yards.
Yes.
This is a nice win for Pitt. Pitt's kind of been all over the place. Obviously, they've got a lot in front of them. More of the story, though, is Florida State right now.
Yeah. So a lot of really bad takeaways for Florida State in this one, unfortunately, with the way that they started out the season beating Alabama. Now they're, lost 3 straight to Virginia, Miami, and now Pitt. Couldn't get off the field all that effectively. Couldn't contain. I felt like the defensive line, the defensive front got a good push at times, but Heinschel just sort of found ways to find room and scramble and also make some like truly terrible decisions back in the pocket, right? Like you can see that the inexperience, and that's fine. He made some incredible throws as well. But yeah, Florida State, the tackling was atrocious at times on the edge and in the open field. I don't think Pitt has like full-on world beaters on this offense. Like Florida State, from like a talent perspective, they weren't outclassed from a roster perspective or anything like that. It was just basic stuff, and guys were out of position, it seemed, on the Florida State defense. And I thought the Florida State offense, as uneven a performance as it was, kind of did enough to win a game like this. Like I really like watching, who's it, Mekhi Danzy, the Florida State receiver. I think he runs track too, which I'm sure the announcer said legit track speed.
Track speed. Oh, you got
world class. He's legit. He's a track guy.
World class speed, what they would say.
He's super fun. Both of these quarterbacks, Tommy Castellanos and Heinschel, made physical plays that don't make full sense. You kind of mentioned it, like both of them were for touchdowns. It was, if you could imagine a second baseman fielding a ground ball, moving away from second base, but throwing the ball back towards second base to the shortstop to try and turn a double play. Like there was some like Biggio moments. I'm trying to think of like a 90s second baseman, Roberto Alomar.
This was a Roberto Alomar type thing. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know how Tommy Castellanos threw that one touchdown. I think it was Chris Vanini over at The Athletic who made a post out there saying something to the effect of EA Sports needs to fix this glitch.
Yeah.
Because you don't generally get that in real life. You only see it in a video game with weird animations.
Yes.
I don't know how he got enough mustard on the ball to get it to the end zone. Clearly, the guy's an athlete.
Yes.
Clearly, he is an athlete. Sometimes that works to his favor. Sometimes it does not. It wasn't a bad game for Tommy Castellanos. I think this was more an indictment of the Florida State defense than it was the offense. Because, again, this was a back and forth game. There were plenty of yards both sides of this thing. The bigger story now, though, moving forward, if we want to talk about James Franklin, if we want to talk about falling short of expectations.
Prawn Brothers sharing premium seafood in the Caribbean, just breathable fabrics like you can't even imagine, taking their dozens of meals.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like Mike Norvell is a huge buyout as well.
Yeah.
Okay. It is not necessarily the same situation at Florida State as it is Penn State, but this was supposed to be the redemption year, right? They went out, hired 2 new coordinators, bring in a bunch of transfers. Tommy Castellanos, they got him relatively early in the portal cycle from Boston College. They named him the guy. It was, this reunion with Gus Malzahn, who he started his college career with. Got the big win in week 1 over Alabama. It seemed as if these were high times, but now suddenly Florida State is 3-3, 0-3 in the ACC. And again, this question about Norvell is rightfully floating around again. I'm not sure what Florida State can do. I know the Penn State situation a lot better than I know the Florida State situation, but I know it's a huge buyout. And I think the question is, what can they do? What are they willing to do? Because clearly the standard that they have for themselves, just like 2 years removed from basically being a playoff caliber team, here they are again in flux after what appeared to be a great start to the season. Seems like they've petered off now a little bit. They're 0-3 in conference again.
Yeah, and that sound you hear is them running away with Alabama's strength of schedule. after losing their third straight game, because now the Florida State loss is going to loom not so large. Sort of maybe like the Oklahoma loss last year for Alabama, though the Tide are fully in control of what they can accomplish this season, even with that loss. Yeah, man, it's not great. Alabama seems to have dodged something significant if they had true interest in Mike Norvell, and bad timing for Florida State to have the season that they did a couple years ago and have Mike Norvell be a hot commodity and sign him up to that big deal and have the team just sort of careen off a cliff ever since that signature hit the paper. I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. The future does not look bright. His recruiting is substandard for Florida State standards. There's time, right? It's still the first half-ish of the season. There's not that much time. So it's not looking great.
There were 3 games featuring SEC teams here at night. They were all going on at the same time. One was Texas A&M beating Florida 34-17. The other 2 had identical scores of 20-10. It was Georgia over Auburn 20-10. It was LSU over South Carolina 20-10. Of those 3 games, which was the most entertaining to you?
Most entertaining, I watched the most of probably Georgia Auburn, and I'd probably put it above the others because I thought the refereeing was sterling.
Oh my God.
I thought it was a perfect performance by this officiating crew.
This was a really bad day of officiating. It's actually been a really bad 2 to 3 weeks of officiating across all of college football. They have gotten some calls wrong. I do not claim that this is an easy job. I think we all know better at this point. But when you have the benefit of video replay and a command center that you can talk to help you come up with the right decision.
Yeah, with 15 cameras, 19 cameras, something crazy.
And you still miss very obvious calls. I mean, we saw this in the Notre Dame game. I'll talk about the Notre Dame game later.
Yeah.
We saw one in that game that was pretty obvious. This one was even worse. This was a Jackson Arnold touchdown that should have put Auburn up 17-0 before half. Instead, Georgia gets it back. They march the field. They get a field goal before half, basically a 10-point swing to go in at halftime down 10-3. And then from that point forward, Georgia just didn't allow Auburn to score.
Yeah.
They scored 17 unanswered from that point forward, I guess 20 unanswered in total, to go on to win 20-10. It was a good win, albeit a little bit controversial because of that touchdown. But I thought both teams showed a lot here. Auburn took away Georgia on the ground. They just don't have enough pop on offense to get it done through the air.
Right.
They were too penalized in this game, I thought, to really make any serious headway. And Georgia continued to do what we've seen a couple times over now, and that's just sort of find a way. Doesn't always need to be the prettiest, doesn't always need to be perfectly cohesive, but they just find a way to get it done. They were good enough on defense, and this was a difficult place to play in a rivalry spot against a team that, I don't want to say Auburn is desperate, but Auburn really needed a win here.
And it looked like they were going to find a way because they started quickly. It looked like they were going to be able to capitalize on Georgia not really finding a way on offense, not finding that pop with any sort of consistency on offense, weren't able to run the ball. Gunnar Stockton was not able to find any sort of consistency in the intermediate or deeper passing game. That's all season long, pretty much, with, specific play exceptions, but not a grouping of anything interesting. And Auburn's defense did plenty to win this game. And if you're an Auburn fan and infuriated with how this game went, especially in the middle portion, I don't have calming words for you. It's terrible. You're right about Georgia finding a way. It wasn't pretty. They don't always find a way. They got pretty fortunate at the end of the Tennessee game, and they lose that Alabama game a couple weeks ago. So I think this is a pretty, again, by their standard, flawed Georgia team this season. There's it's a good season for like retroactive Heismans. It's like, hey, Trace McSorley was really good. Hey, Tyler Warren was really good. Hey, Stetson Bennett, maybe better than we all appreciated. And then, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, guys like that too. But yeah, man, I get if you're an Auburn fan, if you're just feeling infuriated about this all. And if you're a Georgia fan, it's a sense of relief, but you're probably not feeling amazing about the ceiling of your team right now, especially on offense. But
no,
that's how it goes.
And by the way, the one for me, the SEC game for me at night that did it was the A&M game.
Yeah.
A&M putting up 34 on Florida.
Mm-hmm.
This one got off to a hot start, a really hot start. We had a bunch of chunk plays early, and then it settled down the rest of the way through. Florida was held to just 3 points in the final 3 quarters, held to 1 out of 10 on third downs, 3.1 yards per carry. A&M,
I think it's the second straight week of 1 of 10 that the opponent was held. It was Mississippi State last week, right?
Yep. A&M controlled the clock. They had 11 more minutes of possession. They were dynamic again on the ground. They are making a case as maybe the best team in the SEC, if not the best, one of the 3 best in the SEC, I think for sure. This was an interesting spot for them because of what we saw last week from Florida. That was a huge win for the Gators a week ago. And I think you and I were both kind of the mind that Florida would build on that momentum, that they would come into this game, that they would have a renewed sense of optimism and hope, and they would build upon what we saw in week 6. And it started out looking like they might, but then Texas A&M sort of took over. And this is proving week in and week out to be a story of Texas A&M being a very complete team. Of, as you said, I think on one of our episodes this past week, Marcel Reed having a lot of confidence in his game for better or worse.
Agree. Threw a interception in the end zone tonight, I believe, to Florida. Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get some of that, but he is playing, I think, with a lot of confidence.
Yep.
Despite it all. A&M obviously has the defense. They obviously have the ground game. You have 2 of those pieces in place. Even if the passing game isn't fully there yet, it's getting better. You will take that, especially in an SEC that feels very much in flux.
Right.
So I thought this was a damn impressive win for Texas A&M. They were favored. Game was at home. I understand there was a lot in their favor just kicking off this game. But nonetheless, to win by 17, I thought was impressive.
Yeah, especially, and they were doing this last season too, getting stronger over the course of a game. You could feel DJ Lagway getting sped up as this game went on. The defense was making plays, great situational defense. Even though, Marcel Reed can be a bit of a wild card, he spread the ball around nicely. The portal additions at receiver have paid off really well thus far. And so now you have Oregon in the top 5 losing. We'll see how high Indiana jumps up, but Texas A&M has to get consideration right now in that top 3 zone. They're playing really good football. Curious to see how they look at the back half of the season as the schedule continues to be tricky. But they've played a bunch of playing Notre Dame, Auburn, Mississippi State, Florida. This is week in and week out, a very tough road. And Texas A&M has answered the bell.
The other SEC game, LSU 20, South Carolina 10. This was going on amid many other games. I need to go back and watch this one a little bit more closely. 5 turnovers in total, though. 3 for LSU, 2
and
for
those
South Carolina.
Close to the end zone turnovers, too, as they scrubbed through. Yeah.
So, again, I can't speak with any authority on this game because I was watching some of the other ones. I do want to go back. We'll talk maybe more about this on Tuesday. But another instance, frankly, where the LSU defense steps up in a really significant way. They did not allow much through the air to Lenora Sellers. They pretty much had South Carolina contained to whatever they could do on the ground. Garrett Nussmeier, I saw, had 2 interceptions, but maybe got a little bit more production out of their offense. The defense remained strong, which, again, talk about a parallel universe, right? A bit of a 180 now, as opposed to what we're used to over the last couple seasons with LSU. But the defense, even though I have called out on occasion, how good is Clemson's offense really? How good are some of these offenses really that we've seen this defense up against? Eventually it becomes more of a trend than a one-off, and we see it week in and week out where the defense looks pretty damn good. So kudos to them.
Yeah, they ran the ball better from what I can tell. I went through it pretty quickly, but it seemed like Caden Durham, it's glad I'm seeing him on the field again, just getting loose a little bit more often. And if LSU's defense continues to look real, they'll have A&M in a couple weeks at the end of October. They have Bama after a bye in the A&M game. And then, we'll see whatever the Arkansas offense is, whatever Oklahoma's offense is by that point, and what Mateer's health is. But I don't think there's, maybe other than that Alabama game, I don't think there's a ton obvious standing in their way from finishing the year with a vastly improved defense.
The final game that I want to talk about in a little bit more detail, and then we have a few honorable mentions that we can rifle through.
Please.
USC 31, Michigan 13.
Yeah.
I was damn impressed with USC in this game, Dan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I was damn wrong about this one.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Do you know how much it hurts me that I can't take a victory lap about some of my picks because I got the Oregon game wrong? You
had a pretty good week, all things considered.
Well, yeah, there were a couple of things that screwed me up at the end. I loved Auburn, and that game just sort of fell flat for my pick. But I had a pretty good week, all things considered, but I can't take the victory lap because of Oregon. Boo-hoo.
My thought was that Michigan's physicality was going to pose a real issue for USC.
Yeah.
And in reality, it could not have been further from the truth. In fact, it looked more to me like USC was the more physical of these two teams. If you had told me beforehand, let's put it this way, that somebody in this game would rush for more than 200 yards, I never would have guessed USC. Not in a million years, because this has been Michigan's brand. But it was USC. They were led by King Miller. They bullied.
Excuse you. Legendary Calabasas Coyote, King Miller.
King Miller.
Calabasas High Coyote, like yours truly. Continue.
I just thought the way that they were able to utilize all the parts was really impressive against what I still think is a pretty good defense, even though they gave up 31 points. It did not feel to me like there was a whole lot of resistance, and USC was able to do what they wanted to do. Jade Mayava was pretty sharp. Obviously, they had the ground game going. I thought defensively, they were really, really strong in this game. So everything combined made me feel very good about USC and equally as terrified about USC next week with them going to South Bend to play against my Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
I'm a little
bit worried about that situation.
I think you're going to be a week behind USC all season long. Like, you're going to be out on USC after they lose, and then they're going to beat somebody that's pretty good, and you'll be like, I'm all in. And then they're going to lose to somebody, and you'll be like, okay, I may have overestimated that. Then they're going to beat somebody, and you'll be like, I'm back in, baby.
I've been a week behind everybody other than Pitt.
I know, that's true.
I was out in front of Pitt, like 5 weeks too early, but
well, you were out in front of Pitt, but like your out in front wasn't like, hear me out, they're gonna bench Eli Holstein.
No.
You're gonna start a wild card freshman.
No.
So whatever. Pitt's entertaining. That's great. Yeah, I saw Big Noon. Big Noon Saturday had a whole thing about how USC is soft and the West Coast teams, they wouldn't be able to compete in the trenches with Michigan. They flattened them, man. USC on the ground played really well, and this has been a beat up offensive line for USC. I thought they did a great job through the air. Obviously, the best of Bryce Underwood is damn impressive, both on the ground running and, his arm is just ridiculous. And as they amass more weapons at receiver, they will continue to get better on offense. But there's still a rawness to his game, as expected for a true freshman. USC has a secondary that has been opportunistic these past couple of years. They've got good players in that secondary. And King Miller, I think, was a walk-on. I want to say he was a walk-on. It was straight up the middle of this Michigan defense. Like, there were big lanes. There were opportunities through the air. I mean, Mekhi Lemon's ridiculous. I'm not a believer in this USC team as like a conference contender and a fully put together team. But in this spot, at home, at night, against a Michigan team that has been somewhat lumpy this season, I think it was a great performance for them to hold Michigan to 13 points.
I thought they looked awesome.
They were really good. This was
genuinely
a great
awesome.
Yeah,
they looked awesome. And look, next week will be a different test. We'll talk about that probably on Tuesday when we preview games. I don't know.
Yeah,
but at least for the moment, I was floored by how good they looked in this game.
Yeah.
I did not see this coming. Not to this extent. I can understand them winning at home. They've obviously got an offense, but the performance we saw with the defense was just, that knocked me over.
Well, here's the other thing too. Michigan might just be average, right?
Sure.
That like it could be like, hey, USC is pretty good. The defense doesn't come to play in the way they should, and they don't have the depth to really do it for a full season, or, if they have a bad injury here or there, they're really going to struggle. But Michigan hasn't been a world beater on offense this year.
No, but
but
Dan, in the past, in the recent past, when a very physical team goes up against USC, more often than not, that team is pushing USC around.
Sure.
I mean, that has been the rub against USC these last few years. So that was where I was coming from. That was the game I was expecting. We did get that game. It was just USC doing it to Michigan.
Oh, I agree. I'm doing a little bit of devil advocating here, but they couldn't move Oklahoma at all in the trenches, right?
No.
That was not a game that they were able to succeed in the trenches against. And then Nebraska's run defense is garbage this season, and they were able to succeed against that. And Wisconsin actually played pretty well against them in the trenches. Wisconsin just has no offense, and I don't want to spoil if you're waiting to hear us tell you what happened in the Iowa game. But it's not like Michigan has proven a lot this season, but they've won winnable games, and tonight just happened to not be a winnable game.
All right, so we do have an overtime game going on right now. BYU and Arizona are
spicy in the desert.
Double overtime right now. If that one goes final before we get out here, we'll let everybody know. Utah is up big on Arizona State, 35-10 at the end of the third quarter. It looks like Utah is headed for a victory there. Again, remember, Sam Leavitt did not play. Jeff Sims got the start. This result should come as no great surprise if you have followed the illustrious career of Jeff Sims. But alas, we will talk about
Ty is doing this broadcast in the bushes outside of Cam Scadaboo's home. Ty did you just buy the NFL like TV package just to watch Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart bark at each other?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Braying like seals at one another in the backfield.
Yeah. Two absolute maniacs and meatheads are going to rescue that franchise and save Brian Dable. And I'm paying for it. I am absolutely willingly paying for it. Yeah.
I'm thrilled for you and yours.
I love it. All right. So look, we have a few honorable mentions here that we want to go through very quickly. If you are watching us live, please send us some questions. We will get to those in a few minutes. We want to answer a handful of them and, give due to the folks that are staying up with us and watching this here stream. Give me like 3 or 4 really quick takes, other games, things that stood out to you.
Oh man, I've got it all. How about Kansas State? It's been a year for Kansas State. People were like, well, they've got the Irish curse, right? After the Iowa State game and the horrible results there after the Arizona game. They get offensive touchdowns. They get defensive touchdowns. They're forcing turnovers, and they beat TCU. Huge. Kansas State.
One. Yeah.
That's a big deal. I have right down here, Iowa LFL. You've heard of LOL. I'm trying to make LFL happen. They laid the effing lumber. Holy moly, Ty.
What was the final of that game?
I have no idea. I saw it at like 37-0 or something, and I was just like, I had to look away. Like, I need to be able to sleep tonight without seeing what they were doing. The final score of the Iowa, 37-0, and it was 23-0 at the half.
Wow.
So, by the way, 37-0 with Mark Gronowski averaging 4.5 yards per attempt.
107 yards passing.
Yes.
On 17 completions.
Yes. So I have that down, LFL. UCLA is an unbeatable force. That's what I wrote down. Give Jerry Neuheisel the job. Just give him the job.
They look good.
Yeah.
Well, all of a sudden, they look good.
Terrible too, but yeah. USF Friday night. Man, a slow start, couple ugly moments early, and then they LFL'd.
Dude, there were 6 turnovers in the first half of this game. There were 8 in total.
Yeah.
5 of which were North Texas. Byron Brown had 5 touchdowns. USF eventually ran away and hid, but I understand why there was negativity for North Texas getting drilled in the manner that they did. That's never fun.
Yeah.
But sidebar. North Texas showed out for this game. Like, the crowd was into it. This is a very big moment.
Out?
Yeah, this is a very big moment for North Texas Mean Green football to have this primetime game against USF on a Friday night where they kind of had the stage to themselves. And, we're talking about the game. A lot of people are talking about the game. So this was like a significant moment for that program. Obviously, they wish it could have gone a little bit differently, not losing by, 27 points, whatever. But alas, to get into this game, to be in this moment for them, I think is a really important step. So just credit to them, credit to USF for winning like this, but credit to North Texas for having a good enough season that they could be on this stage.
Cameron Dickey got so much exercise for Texas Tech. That was a game that I thought was going to be closer Texas Tech loses Baron Morton. I know. Pause for everybody to be shocked for Baron Morton injury.
I hope he's all right. What did he do? Is he okay?
Hope he's all right.
Yeah, I hope he's okay. Of course,
I just saw Will Hammond was in there and that Baron Morton was out of the game, injured. We hope he's okay. We hope he's able to bounce back. And Texas Tech was not slowed at all in any sort of long-term way. I mean, they just finished strong. 42-17 there. Colorado, by the way.
Big win.
Dude, you know who the quarterback of this game was? It wasn't your big, beautiful boy, Rocco Becht. I'll tell you that. It was Caden Salter. Colorado gets it done, especially on defense, closing out the game. Cincinnati beat UCF. Houston laid the lumber against Oklahoma State, which, by the way, had a whole section of shirtless dudes.
Yeah.
That's a thing you like.
Well, it started off apparently with just a couple guys.
Yeah.
Like 4 guys. And then it spread like a virus.
Yeah.
And before you know it, apparently there were 2 whole sections of shirtless men in the stadium.
Yep.
Whatever, right? Whatever.
That's great. Otherwise, I mean, there's a lot we want to talk about on the Monday spillover type show. Do I have anything else written down?
Well, I have 3.
Oh, my last one, by the way, before you take your 3, maybe this is one of them. Nebraska. Nebraska is able to stomp Maryland on the ground, avoid losing to Maryland, because Maryland is very good at coming close to an impressive win after September ends. They had it against Washington. I do not mean to dance on the grave of this Maryland loss, but Dylan Raiola was able to lead a game-winning drive at the end of this game. I thought this was more on the Nebraska rushing attack than anything else. Dylan Raiola had 3 picks, including a pick 6. So Dylan Raiola gets your Duff beer, the reason for and the reason against Nebraska's success tonight. And I saw the reaction of some Nebraska fans was like, look, the touchdown number was higher than the interception number. We don't need to go into specifics.
Yeah. La, 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 la.
Yeah,
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Ole Miss 24-21 over Wazoo?
Yes.
A little closer than you might expect. They were heavily favored, as you might expect, going into this one.
I just like that this matchup existed.
It was weird. Sometimes you get weird matchups like this. This was definitely on that level. Ole Miss kind of had a rally from an early deficit. They had to deal with a couple Wazoo trick plays. Wazoo was gritty in this game. I give Wazoo credit for keeping this one close. I kept watching the scoreboard. I kept flipping over to this one, trying to figure out what the hell was going on. But Wazoo was legitimately in it.
By the way, BYU did win.
BYU won.
survived.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kudos. They win in overtime. The other one was Tennessee and Arkansas. This was Bobby Petrino's debut as the Arkansas interim coach after Sam Pittman got fired. Turnovers, clock management, it sort of got in the way of what appeared to be a late comeback bid. Defense in short supply, 34-31. Of course, me as the Notre Dame fan, I'm going to talk about Notre Dame next, but me as a Notre Dame fan.
We're just fresh out of time.
I'm thinking to myself, man, Tennessee, number 12 in the nation, struggling with Arkansas. Meanwhile, Notre Dame puts up all these points.
Sure.
You know how
That's
fan
how it
logic
works.
goes. You know how fan logic goes.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame won by 29 points. They had a rough go of it early against NC State. It was not a good first half. Pulled away in the second half. CJ Carr, 342 through the air. The defense played well, all things considered, only gave up 233 and 7 points. You will take that, absolutely, given where they've been.
Yep.
I have no idea what to expect next week against USC. I need to sleep on this one. I need to get like 3 good nights sleep before I can come up with a realistic expectation for that game next week, but I'm going to be on pins and needles.
So Notre Dame is your official Paul Rudd team of the season, it's aged well. Right? They've only lost to top 3 teams.
So far, so good, yeah?
Likely top 3-4 teams, whatever Texas A&M is going to be ranked. Obviously, Miami is highly ranked and should continue to be so for the rest of the team. So Notre Dame is your Paul Rudd has aged well of team of the season. He's 77 years old, Ty.
77. It's incredible. It doesn't look a day over 30.
I did not watch a ton of this, but good to know that Notre Dame was able to get some rhythm before a really nice matchup next week against SC. That's in South Bend, right?
It's in South Bend. They're going to be like 87 points in that game.
Great.
It's going to be a crazy matchup.
Can't wait.
I can't talk about it yet. I don't have the sound here, but I'm not talking about that. Okay. So listen, if you are watching live, send in some questions in the interim while we're waiting for those to file in. We got a great batch of reverbs. As I said at the very top of this episode, we did instruct Shay, our beloved reverb engineer, that he should be sure to include comments from Indiana fans, comments from really any fan base that felt
That's easy for you to say because we're not going to have Northwestern fans calling in.
Oh, we have some Penn State fans calling in.
Oh, we have Penn State people. Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that everybody had a voice, that everybody had a chance to take a shot if they felt the need to take a shot. Because look, we're all friends here.
We're
it's
here.
all good. We can take it. We
We're
put it
not
out
hiding.
there into the universe, right?
Yeah.
What's fair is fair. So with all that being said, we had a bunch of reverbs, a great batch here. We appreciate everybody dialing in. Here's a listen to your week 7 reverbs.
I'm going to just pass it off to Shaggy and Scooby right here to tell you what I think about the Penn State game. Zoink, Flake, Scoob. How are we going to win a game without an offense? I don't know, Raggy. Fire flanking.
Hi, this is Brian from Madison, Wisconsin.
This is Sean in Philadelphia.
Hey, y'all. This is Mason from Jensen Beach, Florida, and I've got to hand it to James Franklin. He's playing 4D chess. You can't lose to the worst team in the Big Ten again if you are the worst team in the Big Ten.
We got no food. We got no jobs. Our quarterback's knees are falling off.
Just wondering if you have a good estimate for how bad Indiana is going to beat Penn State later this year. Thanks.
To heck with Lewis and Clark. I'm following Curt Cignetti to the great Northwest. Hoosiers!
Looks like Ty was right. I guess the Oregon win over Penn State wasn't all that good. Can't wait to hear Dan marginalize this win by Indiana over his Oregon Ducks.
In the spirit of an honest discussion, I would give you a short list of IU players that would start over Oregon players on a combined roster. Fernando Mendoza, Roman Hemby, Elijah Surratt.
UCLA kind of feels like we're 2-0. But seriously, are we the best 4-loss team in the country right now?
What in the actual is the ACC officiating crews doing in South Bend, Indiana?
EJ Williams, Omar Cooper Jr., Carter Smith.
Buffs went and stormed the field. College football uptight purists are trying to gatekeep field storming now. I say the Buff storm after every win.
I don't think it should have been called Steely Saturday. I think we should have gone with Schadenfreude Saturday, : it can always be worse. Signed an Arkansas fan.
Drew Evans, Pat Coogan, Bray Lynch.
You know the old saying, if you love something so much, why don't you marry it? Well, I just got to save the date for E.J. Warner's wedding to interceptions.
Okay, so my fiance's in bed. I'm not going to admit this to her. She made me shave today. We had a spa day. A&M's doing great. I'm not going to tell her that it's because I shaved.
Hey, this is Dan in Minneapolis. I just got done seeing Tron Ares. Pretty fun movie. Great Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. Movies are so back.
Just got out of Maryland, Nebraska. Can we bring back September, please?
Moving to defense. Tamara, Tucker, Wheeler, Wyatt, Hardy.
All right, Oklahoma, let's just take a look at the rest of your schedule. All right, South Carolina, number 4, Ole Miss, number 12, Tennessee, number 8, Alabama, number 14, Missouri, number 11, LSU. Uh-oh. I think Oklahoma's going to suck. Hook 'em horns.
I hate reverbs, yeah.
Anti. This is your old associate, Bradley. Just got done watching my alma mater, the Indiana Hoosiers, take down the Oregon Ducks. And I got to say, I think this is the stuff. I think this is what it's all about. I'm starting to really feel like life is beautiful.
Look who you got him. Coach Six wins again. Woo!
Wonderful. Wonderful batch of reverbs. Hey, I'm happy for Indiana people. I'm happy that they had the opportunity to call in. That was a hell of a win. Truly, that was a hell of a win. And look, maybe not today for you, Dan, but moving forward for sure, they're going to be a fun team to watch because they're better than they were a year ago. If just as a proof of concept, you can go to Autzen Stadium and win a game like this and be dominant to some extent in doing so. I don't know. The sky's the limit. I'm really excited, and I'm very curious to see where Indiana comes out in our next Verballer Top 12 poll, which, by the way, you can sign up to vote in. If you go on out to verballers.com, that's our Patreon.
Yes.
If you sign up as a certified or premium member, that post is going to go live at 7 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. We give you all the FBS teams. You can pick out 12. You can put them in the order that you think is right. We're going to unveil that as we have been doing on our Tuesday episode. Where is Indiana? Where is Texas A&M? Do any of them push up a little bit against Miami, against Ohio State? There will definitely be some reshuffling in the top 12. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
By the way, Ty, just talking about reshuffling in the top 12 and who's going to be ranked where. UNLV, undefeated, 51-48 against the United States Air Force. Speaking of the military, the United States Navy, also undefeated, getting more votes. Blake Horvath playing really, really well. There's some bubbling. I know ODU lost, and I was very high on the Monarchs going into the week. They lost to a weird season for Marshall, but there's some stuff bubbling up that I think we got to start paying more attention to as well, now that Oregon is fully off of my radar.
Okay, so we got some questions coming in. We'll start with Truffle Shuffle.
Yes.
Who has a better resume than the Aggies?
Okay.
At this point. Interested to see how the AP ranks teams this week.
Okay, so
it's a good resume.
It's a very good resume. It's one ranked team as of this moment in Notre Dame, which is very impressive, obviously, going to South Bend and winning that game. Well, I guess, is Notre Dame ranked right now?
Notre Dame is ranked 16th right now.
16th. Okay, so they're in the top 20. They'll be moving up probably. Miami has Florida and Notre Dame as well. And the Florida State win is probably not going to age super well because of Florida State's decline at the moment, but taking care of business. Ohio State has Texas. We'll see what that actually means by the end of the year. They have Washington. Now they have Illinois. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody else. I mean, Ohio's probably going to be competing for the MAC, but that's a pretty decent schedule. Who else has the strength of performance and strength of schedule in their Venn diagram?
Right. So right now, and again, there are many different metrics for measuring this, but this is just the data as it is presented on ESPN.com. And I know there is animosity towards some of ESPN's metrics, specifically the FPI. This is not the FPI, but they have two metrics out on their website. One is strength of resume. The other is strength of schedule. Right now, Texas A&M has the number one strength of resume.
Okay.
They're followed by Miami, by Ohio State, by Oregon, and by Ole Miss. Those are your top five.
Alabama has 2 top 15 wins.
Yes,
right?
And Alabama is 10th on here.
We've got Georgia and Mizzou, both in the top 15.
Now, in terms of strength of schedule,
it
should come as no surprise that Florida is number one. We've talked about Florida's schedule since the very beginning of the season. Kent State is number 2 because everybody wants the payday or the easy win, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're willing to pay for it. Alabama is 3, as Alabama does have a pretty tough schedule. Now, it'll be interesting to see with the A&M side of things how their season evolves because, as you said, maybe only one win over a ranked team now, but they still have LSU and Missouri both on the road in back-to-back weeks. They've got a game later in the year against Texas. They also have a game against South Carolina. I don't think South Carolina is going to be ranked based on the fact that they already have 3 losses and a brutal schedule in their own right. But I would say there's a pretty strong likelihood that there are at least 3 other ranked teams on the schedule before all is said and done.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see with Indiana, but right now, Oregon on the road, Iowa on the road, Illinois. It's up there.
This is a great question from K. Doug Hardy. Thank you, sir, for sending this one in. With all the ups and downs so far, do we actually know who could win the national championship this year?
I just told you who, Ty. UNLV.
Other than UNLV.
Dan Mullen, Anthony Calandria. What more do you need?
You cannot tell me, if you are listening to this right now, that you have a strong sense for who your national champion is going to be this year. I think obviously Ohio State has to be in your very first breath when you mention potential national champions. Miami for sure has looked damn impressive thus far. But really outside of those 2 teams, who I think week in and week out have looked impressive, Indiana. Crazy that Indiana is going to be this high in the conversation, but this is where we're at.
Right.
Just talked about Texas A&M. We're going to see a deck that is very reshuffled in the top 12 here moving forward. We're going to see other teams bubble up. I don't have a strong sense for any of this. I think right now, if I am picking, I'm saying Ohio State because of their defense. Their defense to me feels like singularly the best thing in college football and the hardest nut to crack. No pun intended.
Yeah, I think, look, my rubric has long been defense and quarterback. I think there's a chance Alabama could grow into something very interesting. And obviously, Kalen DeBoer has that experience taking a team deep into January with his run at Washington. So I'm monitoring that situation. Their schedule's pretty difficult, I believe. It's Ohio State, it's Alabama, it's Miami. It's obviously we discussed A&M and how they're going to move up. I kind of need to see it before I truly believe it in A&M. And then I guess it just depends what kind of ceiling you specifically feel about Jerry Neuheisel and UCLA.
Let's go to this one from
Okay.
John. He says, can Oregon survive another loss? He says there's not much resume building left. They do play USC, basically no one else to get style points with.
They're going to need, so they'll need Indiana to win out. And so that'll be like an incredibly quality loss that they'll lose to number 1, 2, 3, 4 in the country.
Yeah.
So if they have to take another loss, it has to be to another high quality team. They can't lose to Rutgers. They can't lose probably to Iowa. I think Iowa's quality, but I don't think it's going to be a great resume item. So essentially you're saying they have to lose to USC at home? Would that be their best remaining loss at the moment? I guess losing to Washington on the road, but that's final week of the season. The good news, if you're an Oregon fan, you want a silver lining, is there's time to improve. There's time to, correct some mistakes. And they're almost assuredly not going to play in Indianapolis, and they're not going to win the Big Ten, and thus they won't get a bye, the dreaded bye in the playoff.
Yeah.
Am I considering Oregon to be a playoff team in this moment? It's not my first thought with them. That was
Really?
a winnable game at times. Indiana was a better team. Oregon can absolutely make the playoff, but man, I'm a lot more worried about Dante Moore between the ears than I was yesterday.
Well, I think that's fair, but I also don't think they're going to be viewed too harshly as a result of losing to Indiana.
Oh,
I mean, it's
Indiana's
not like they got
national title
blown out.
contender. Yeah.
It's not like they got blown out.
No.
Indiana's legitimately a contender.
Yeah.
For the conference, maybe for the whole damn thing. And I get that it's a weird world in which we discuss such things. But nonetheless, we are where we are, and they look damn good.
They do. Again, I don't know what Oregon is, though. At this point. Indiana
either.
took care of business like an excellent team should.
Let's go to this one here from Spencer.
Okay.
More on the topic of the Penn State conversation. Can Penn State, his question here is money an issue for Penn State?
Right.
He feels like boosters would totally pressure them to fire him. Look, I mean, they're spending a ton of money to revitalize the stadium. They're clearly committed to trying to build this football program into something that is, on the level of a national championship contender. We all thought coming into this year that they were already a national championship contender. Some among us, Dan, picked them as their national champ. That should have been everybody's first clue that
You don't
it
need
wasn't
to
going to.
point fingers. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
It was.
I have jinxed literally everybody that I have picked
Mhm.
so far this season, so it should come as no great surprise. It's just a lot of dead money, Like I'm sure they could ultimately find a way to come up with that, but it's a lot of dead money, and I do wonder if there is any real impetus to move on Franklin if it means putting out that kind of cash. I think the more likely scenario is that there is a heart-to-heart conversation either with James Franklin and Pat Kraft, or Pat Kraft and James Franklin's agent, Jimmy Sexton, or Jimmy Sexton and other potential openings around the country, where it just is kind of understood, spoken or unspoken, that it would be better if everybody just parted ways. I think that is the more likely scenario than them firing him tomorrow and them paying him a $50 million buyout.
Okay. If I'm James Franklin, I say, cool, no discount.
Well, right. And look,
cool. Let's do our thing. Just
a contract's
you
a
give me the
contract.
check,
I get
I'm
it.
going to say nice things about you. Like, hey, it didn't work out. Wish it could have. Always going to love Penn State, right? And just like do the Ed Orgeron thing. We're like, tell me which door to go out of. You're giving me the whole thing. Tell me which babies to kiss. Tell me who to wave to. Whose hand to shake. I'm not giving Penn State a discount.
I saw our friend Nicole Auerbach on the NBC Studio show mention something about, maybe there would be a negotiated buyout or something like that. I don't know. If I were Franklin, I probably wouldn't do that either. They signed the contract. They were the ones that offered it to him.
Yeah.
It was sort of a parting gift from the previous athletic director, but I don't know. They have a decision to make. I don't think it's a situation that, like I said earlier, you can go up there at the podium in front of this fan base, which is hungry for more, and say, we still believe we have this guy and that he's the one who can solve the problem, because this was supposed to be the year. This is supposed to be the year when all the problems were worked out. And
well,
in reality, they've gotten way worse.
What's going to happen is if they can't find the money and they have to keep him, then the money is going to be pulled from collectives. And, obviously there's going to be money within the program via rev share deals. But so now Penn State's not going to be able to compete in the same way with regard to NIL and portal stuff. And they're going to continue to get worse. And Franklin will say, okay, pay me my money and I'll leave.
pay me my money and I will leave.
Yeah.
What a world, man.
Yep.
What an absolute crazy world. I'll put one more up here because I do like to end these types of things by looking forward. Casey Ute wants to know, what games are you most looking forward to next week? So I've had an opportunity to look at some of the games next week. Chief among them for me is USC Notre Dame. I'm terrified of that game. That's a 7:30 Saturday night game. There is a banger of a game on Friday night between Louisville and Miami, which I think has a lot of significance. There is a very interesting matchup early on Saturday between LSU and Vanderbilt.
Yep.
Georgia Tech goes to Duke.
That's
Could
quality.
be interesting. That's a quality matchup. I'm curious to see how South Carolina responds on the road.
Ooh, I don't know if South Carolina.
Or excuse me, Oklahoma responds on the road against South Carolina. What state is John Mateer going to be in? Will he play in that game? I don't know. The big one, among some other big ones, is Ole Miss against Georgia. That's a mid-afternoon game on ABC. That looks like that should be a lot of fun. We'll have Texas Tech on the road at ASU. We'll have your Oregon Ducks traveling cross-country to play Rutgers.
Yep.
And we also have another rivalry game in Tennessee against Alabama, just to name a few.
Holy War.
The Holy War, too. Oh, my gosh. How did I forget the Holy War?
Holy War. And, okay, I am not going to sit here and promise you that Stanford is going to beat Florida State in Palo Alto next week.
Okay.
But I'm not feeling super great if I'm a Florida State fan about traveling across the country. Stanford exclusively wins at home. Who they beat last year? Louisville in Palo Alto?
10:30 game.
543 rabid Cardinal fans. Florida State is going to be discombobulated, and whatever happens next week, don't hold it against Florida State. Those are the hinterlands of the sport, and weird stuff happens.
All right. Why don't we leave it there? Before we get out of here, though, Dan, we have to do the most important thing.
Please.
A little loud. I'm sorry, but we're all excited.
Good.
All excited to talk through some of our dudes this week. Who do we got?
I have Calabasas High's King Miller, Damon Claiborne, Wake Forest over now 0-7 Oregon State. So I guess it could be worse if you're an Oregon fan.
I wanted to bet on Wake Forest, and I forgot to get the bet in because Oregon State's not been good.
No.
And I just had a good feeling about Wake. I've liked generally Wake's vibe this year, and they smoked them.
Yes, I have Damon Williams, so it's a double Damon week for me. Very rare, but very fortunate that we get to celebrate. Byron Brown, who was enormous for South Florida in their win Friday night. Cameron Dickey, I mentioned, your exercise champion of the day, going for over 260 yards, I think, on the ground.
263 and 2 touchdowns on 21 carries.
Des Reed at Pitt in an all-purpose effort. Eric McAllister in a losing effort for TCU. And then I have down here Elijah Surratt for Indiana. And in parentheses, those Indiana linebackers were everywhere in Eugene. So that's what I have down here for your dudes of the week.
I also have the Texas Tech defensive line, which apparently had 9 sacks in this game.
Yeah.
Been a minute since we could talk about Texas Tech as having a ferocious defense and pass rush.
This is true.
And by a minute, I mean never. I've never, ever said that before. And I'm excited about it. So good for them.
Okay. They've had players, like specific talents over the years, but never
9 sacks
dominating unit in that way. No. And the Texas Tech schedule, we'll see what they have at quarterback for themselves and for Arizona State on the road next week. They're at Kansas State, but otherwise, that's a pretty gravy schedule as well.
All right. Well, we appreciate everybody chiming in, whether you left us a voice message, whether you wrote in a dude alert. We had a bunch of posts come our way, DMs coming my way over the course of week 7. It was, as we are coming to know, very active. I suspect week 8, week 9, pretty much every week from this point forward is going to remain just as active because college football is just in a constant state of flux. We have a couple teams at the top. We have a bunch of other teams trying to get there. And in the interim, we just have a bunch of badness ensuing. It makes the whole thing fun.
Did you say badness or madness?
I meant madness, but badness is there too.
It's right there too.
It's right there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So listen, hit follow, hit subscribe if you made it this far. We absolutely appreciate your support. Please do go on out to verballers.com. Sign up as a certified or premium member if you want to help Dan and I keep the lights on and further support what we do. If you do listen on the podcast, please make sure you leave a star rating or a review wherever you can. Leave a comment wherever you can. All of that stuff helps more people find what we're doing. We put a lot into this. We obviously are up pretty late and we're excited to do it. But any help that you guys are willing to provide goes a long way.
And if you're Cam Scattaboo, Ty's just looking for like a used sweat towel or some socks or
My
just
guy.
like a
My guy, Cammy Cam.
He just wants to be able to smell your essence as he goes home. That's not a big deal. He'll leave your bushes. It's no big deal at all.
You sent me the Instagram post of Cam Scattaboo and Jackson Dart rubbing heads like they were pit bulls. I love that.
It's great.
I love that. 2 maniacs. Finally, the Giants have given me a reason to watch.
I hope
it might
they,
still stink, but
I hope they get an apartment together in like Passaic. I don't know what's close to the practice facility. I hope they just have the time of their lives together in New York City and New Jersey, whatever.
they're fun though.
And
They're
win a
fun.
bunch of games.
They're 2 total lunatics. It's great.
It's great.
It is. It's great. All right. On that note, thank you all for staying up late with us. If you didn't stay up late, thank you all for downloading, for listening, for supporting what we do. We will be back on Tuesday. In the meantime, don't forget to go out and sign up so that you can vote in the Verballer Top 12 poll. We want to hear from everybody. We have a lot of reshuffling the deck that needs to occur. We can only do it with your help.
Yes.
In the meantime, for that guy over there, Dan, for myself, Ty, thank you as always. We'll talk to you soon.